Happy Mardi Gras, everyone. Reaperman here, and today I'm going a bit down market with the Pac-Man 256 TV game that I picked up at the clearance bin at Target. It caught my eye by having Bosconian on it, which, if you'll recall, I did a video on the MSX to Master System conversion of it a few weeks ago. So first, going over the hardware, it's kind of clear that the marketing department was more interested in creating a shelf display than a game system. This shape is just awful. There's sharp corners everywhere thanks to the Pac-Man theme, and it's kind of too big for handheld use and too small for lap use. And rarely have I experienced less ergonomic controllers, and I did survive the 80s. Now, these buttons are standard gamepad fare, despite looking like they may be arcade style. And the stick also looks the part, but the shaft is noticeably too short, and the ball is hollow and lacks mass. The spring behind is kind of weak, and all that kind of thing. It's just not quite right. One big thing that Pac-Man 256 does is that it uses a four-way stick for control. This this is actually kind of big for Pac-Man. I recently went to a local arcade that had a Miss Pac-Man with an eight-way stick, and that made it an extremely disappointing experience when it tried to handle those diagonals. However, Bosconian is not Pac-Man, and it's intended to have a full eight-way stick. Now, if I use enough force, I can still get a lower left diagonal to work, so I can see that it's handled in the software. And diagonals are pictured in the attract mode. So Bosconian on a four-way is a definite mistake, but not the worst thing in the world. It's just a bit wrong and kind of a bit sad that it's like that on here. So getting back to the case, Pac-Man 256 here is powered by AA batteries here in the back, and the back also opens up for cord storage. And also an unexpected plus of the system, this thing actually saves high scores, and I sure wasn't expecting that. Now, I don't know if those saves are dependent on the batteries, but wow, that is a nice feature, very unexpected. So now onto the Bosconian game itself then. This is the whole reason I'm here. As you can see, it's a very complex version of the game. I don't really know what's powering Pac-Man 256, and looking inside generally doesn't help. But I'd guess this is some form of low-powered cell phone chip running an Android arcade emulator. I really doubt they did such complete ports to the more common on-a-chip systems like the NES or Genesis that you often find inside these plug-and-plays. Especially since the games still force credit use, and the on-screen prompts for that credit use is overlaid in a very primitive fashion that's not really connected with the game itself. But if it's an emulator, then I kind of wonder why stick with composite video, as I think it would prefer HDMI out. I mean, I'd sure prefer it since that composite is downing my capture quality immensely. Comparing this to the Master System conversion of the MSX game, also known as the only other version I've ever played, there are a lot of differences. So sound is immediately noticeable as being much better with a lot more sound effects and voice samples. So Bosconian in the arcade is actually supposed to be quite a chatty game, and this does provide that experience. Also, there can be more going on the screen at once. So the levels that were too closely packed for the MSX version were either modified or removed. Here on Pac-Man 256, though, there are levels where the bases are practically right on top of each other. And if you notice, the bases are now in both the vertical and horizontal orientation, which is kind of nice. I also noticed that once the spy ship finds the player ship and calls in all the full backup and everything comes in, it's actually a lot easier to deal with the swarm, and I rarely get killed by them. I even managed to finish levels while they're swarming me. So I guess despite the composite video and the four-way stick, this is actually still a darn good version of Bosconian. And before I forget, here's my high score. So now let's get into some action. Alright, let's get level 1 going here. situate this stick probably about as best we can here. Ergonomics are truly terrible on this thing. Oh. Hey. Seriously. Finally. Okay, now level 2, it seems like the idea is to jump in between these and blow them both up at once, since one's horizontally oriented and the other's vertically, but I like to take this path here. Lines me up with this, then I'll drop in right between these two. Blow them both up and get my 10,000 point one up. So here's the first level where everything is legitimately piled kind of on top of itself. They get worse than this. Ooh. Okay, moving on to the level, it looks like Orion has a lot of horizontal opening. Not the best. Up with that. Right. Okay. One neat thing about the formations in this game is, if you notice over on the right, it shows you what's coming. That's spaceship. So you kind of know what the formation looks like that's about to hit you. I'm just going to roll off this edge of the screen here, spaceship again. Boom. Into formation. Spaceship again. Spaceship again. Oh, this spaceship really wants to get me in this level. Yeah. Okay. Boom. Now for a circular one where they're all oriented. I really only remember about half of these levels from the MSX one, so a whole lot of levels were either altered or removed. Oh, I think that's it for this here credit. So after this, it actually drops you at the continue screen, but before this, if you've gotten a high score, it'll take you to the high score screen where you can input your initials, and I really like that it saves them. So on the continue screen, as you know, I tend not to continue this kind of game, so let's give this another credit here. That was kind of a lousy go of it. Hope to get at least halfway to my highest score on the live recording. So I've actually owned this system for a couple of weeks, and I've given it a few hours of play. I'm not the most experienced at it. I also feel like I have to play a lot more conservatively on this version than the MSX version. I wonder if that might be some latency as far as the emulator goes. I don't have an especially low lag TV, but I am running it through the FrameMeister, which should upscale it fairly competently. I think it adds 1 to 2 frames of lag, something like that. Oh, I love these really packed-in levels. There's another one later where they're practically on top of each other. It's just great. Alright, let's line up with this guy first. Boom. And back to Orion here. I also really like all the details on the sprite work here. There's no more single color enemies. And yes, instead of destroying the central core, we can, in fact, destroy all 6 of the pods on the outside. What fun is that? Oh, that was the spy ship. Didn't even see him. Got a formation coming. Spy ship. Oh. And let's go back to this guy. Ooh. Wrap around the right side here and take out that last station. There. I find it just really tricky to line up with the stations in this version. Or much more likely it was a little too easy to line up with them in the MSX Master System conversion. Ooh. Ooh, lucked out there. Be lined up this time. Boom. Alright. Formation on the way somewhere. Spy ship. Coming. Oh. Yep. Oh. Ooh. Start with down. After things blow up in this game, their explosion remains on the screen for just a bit, and I assure you it is quite deadly. Here comes a cross formation. So especially these mines, when they blow up, they kind of puff out. Fun. Uh-oh. Watch it. Oh, this isn't going to be a good time here, is it? Run. 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 Need to get down to this thing. Boom. Okay.
Lost all.
Ooh.
Alive, alive.
Lucked out. Lucked out there.
Alive, alive.
Yeah.
Alive, alive.
Ooh.
Lost all.
Okay. Big line.
Alive,
Inconveniently, they are not all oriented the same way. Aw.
Lost all.
I guess ideally I'd find one that had a vertically oriented core here. And attack that one. There you are. Roll through these now. Okay. Oh yeah, here we go. Ah, that was gonna happen. There are a few ways out of that. Yeah, let me just put my name in here. I guess that's about it for this game. I do kind of like this version of Bosconian. I do wish it had an 8-way stick on it, and I really wish that I could get more than composite video out of this thing. But outside of that, I mean, for $10, this is the easiest way to play Bosconian right now, hardware-wise. So I guess that's a recommend.